Hi, my name is Krista Cooper. I am the owner of the Duck Coffee Company in Wichita Falls, Texas.
Hi, I'm Danielle Welch, 8th grade English teacher.
Hi, I'm Jenny Lee Hines and I own Jameson's Flowers.
Hey, my name is Drew. I'm the owner and founder of Endunamoo Strength and Conditioning.
I'm Erica. I'm a teacher and a coach, and I had a baby, little Cade, in this pandemic.
Hi, my name is Jesse and I'm a senior of the class of 2020.
My name is Scott West. I'm the senior pastor at Fairway Baptist Church here in Wichita Falls.
The COVID crisis has definitely impacted my day-to-day life. Things like my schedule has definitely been affected personally, but most importantly, it's changed the way I teach and has impacted the way I prepare for my students.
The COVID virus scare has affected me in a couple of different ways. One, personally, I'm one of those people with underlying health issues. I'm a kidney transplant patient, so I take medicine which suppresses my immune system. So as an immunocompromised individual, I'm susceptible to everything that's going around.
So a coffee shop, we are typically used for gatherings, whether it be for coworkers or family or friends or study groups. We're used for people to come here and sit and hang out in a comfortable area with warm drinks, and people just can't really do that anymore right now, so they have to be a lot more intentional about getting their coffee. And so because of that, people just tend to stay home and do their own coffee there, which is fine. It's great, but it's definitely changed our day-to-day.
It has very on the surface level impacted our gross income and what we can do for our employees. We've seen about a 20% drop in normal income, about 20 to 30, which this is our growing season and our peaking season, and so it's very difficult to manage that.
One, it makes it easier for me to catch the virus, and secondly, it means that the effects of it will be much worse for me. And so it's affected me in the sense that I haven't been anywhere. I come to work where I work in an office by myself, and then I go home. And I haven't been to the store, haven't been around people. It's completely isolated me.
Main struggle is we are shorthanded right now. We're kind of down to a skeleton crew, not because we laid anybody off, but whenever all this started, I pulled our team in and I told them, hey, if you're not comfortable with all this, if you feel like you need to stay home, just let me know. And we had 2 of our girls that are home still, so it's been a skeleton crew, but we've been pretty busy through all this, so it's been a little bit of a struggle to maintain everything.
This is a very crazy time to have this happen, because not only I had my first son, it will be in my new facility in May. It's almost 3 times as big as this space, because we would need it to handle more volumes of people, and so now we can't even see anybody, and we spent an entire year preparing to handle larger volumes of people.
We have gone to online teaching, distance learning, like many of the districts around, and so my kids come to me when they get a chance. It puts a lot of pressure on their families to maintain their academic skills, and so we have worked with them and met them where they're at.
It's really kind of a bummer right now to be a senior, because we had 2.5 months left of senior year, so it was really a kind of downward hill. Grades were about to be locked in for the year. We were all really excited just to be able to hang out at school and not really have to worry about anything. We were able to just kind of have fun. And then now graduation's been canceled. A lot of our senior activities have been canceled, so it's just kind of not really enjoyable at the moment.
So the weirdest part was the hospital, like actually going there and checking in and having to tell our parents that they couldn't be there or they couldn't visit. Drew, my husband, was the only one that was allowed in, and he couldn't leave. Every time he left, they had to recheck him, re-ask him all the questions, and they definitely got us in and out a little bit quicker. And they actually told us at the hospital after we had him that we had to be really careful and quarantine for pretty much 2 weeks. We couldn't let anybody see him. Nobody could come over until we saw our pediatrician. So for my family, this was their first grandbaby, and they didn't get to see him for the whole first 2 weeks of his life.
As this began to be kind of a deal, nobody knew what it was. Some people were like, oh, this is going to kill everyone. And some people were like, this is not even the flu. And so what we began to do initially was hyper clean our equipment, to regulate those who came in, not let people come in who were sick or feverish. And then as the city began to enact and the state began to enact things, we terminated classes and soft converted. It took about a week to build everything up, but we soft converted into some online platforms. We still had some individual training. And we were trying to kind of mold and mend the two of those who could come to us and those who could not come to us. And then as the shelter in place or more strict options were enacted, we immediately ended everything in facility and in-house. We began loaning out equipment.
Because of the limitations placed on the church by this virus and the government's reaction to it and just safe practices, what we've decided as the church's leadership to do, we've had to adapt the way we reach our people. And so what we've decided to do is we have a very short devotional service that we record and then post on YouTube each week. It lasts anywhere from 20 to 45 minutes. It's simply me presenting a devotional thought on a passage of Scripture. And if there's information about our church that we need to pass along to our members, we'll do that then. We don't stream an entire service with musicians and singers. We've decided at this point just to keep it simple and do this. But if this goes on for months, then of course we may have to change what we do.
We've been really making sure that we are taking the proper precautions with everything, because not only do I have a husband with asthma, I have a 7-month-old baby. So we've been making sure that we're taking extra steps to make sure everything's disinfected. We're not doing curbside pickup, we're doing deliveries only, and all of our deliveries are no contact. So part of the no contact is we call the recipient, make sure someone's home, and then we will, whenever we get there, we'll ring the doorbell, and then we'll leave the flowers on the porch, and then we'll step back to our car and make sure that they're received.
Our pediatrician is really laid back. They said that we can't like breathe on him or like kiss him, which is really hard because he's got these like big chunky cheeks, like that's all you want to do. And so we can't take him out in public. So like if I needed to go to the grocery store for anything, I have to wait for Drew to get home to watch him so that I can go. Just weird things like that, like not being able to just live your normal life.
We've always really aggressively cleaned our place. It's one of our things. It's an old building, but it feels kind of new and clean. And so we've done that, and we've upped that, and we're prepared for when they ease everything back into it, is that we have a very clean, very well taken care of facility that can accommodate the small groups that will eventually turn into larger groups that will turn back into normal everyday life.
So a lot of things that have changed about senior year is that we're not really getting to spend time as classmates together. A lot of us have spent 4 to 8 years with each other, so it's just we're not able to actually see each other every day, talk to each other every day. We're not able to go out and hang out at coffee shops or just hang out after school and play sports or do any kind of physical competition. And we keep being told school's gonna be this, school's gonna be that. Things change every single day as far as grades and assignments and how we're gonna be counted for things. So far, our graduation has been pushed back to a date that we don't know. So it's just kind of waiting to see when we're actually gonna be able to walk the stage.
So when all of this hit, we definitely had issues finding what we needed in order to operate, whether it be milk, eggs, flour, everything was out. And we can't do our special ordering, we can't get what we need in the amounts that we need. So we definitely had to do a lot more going out every day and just getting a little bit here and there, what we could. And the fear of not having the supplies in order to meet the demand was definitely real and uncomfortable.
So our local wholesaler closed down with all this. When everything started, when the very first shelter in place was ordered before any amendments were made, they went ahead and dumped all the flowers out of their cooler. And that was a Friday. The following Tuesday, which we were closed that following Monday because we didn't think we were allowed to be open. That following Tuesday, the city came out and made amendments to the shelter in place, which allowed us to do funerals only at that point. So we were back open on that following Tuesday, but they couldn't necessarily financially recover from getting rid of all of their flowers. So they made the decision, the owner decided that she was just going to take this opportunity to go ahead and retire, but that's left us without a local wholesaler.
As far as our church being online, I do think there are people that are not, I don't want to say they're unhappy with it, but they're not satisfied with it. I'm one of those. I don't like it. I don't think this is what church was intended to be. I believe Scripture tells us to gather together. In the Old Testament, the psalmists talk about how they long to be in the house of the Lord. In the New Testament, we're told not to forsake assembling together. And so I think online is a very poor substitute for actually gathering together as the body of Christ. However, given our circumstances, it's either meet online or do nothing at all. And so we've decided to go ahead and do a very limited and small online presence just to keep in contact so people can see something of the church during this time.
We had to bring in delivery, which is something we never really planned on doing. So we had to come up with a system, come up with all the info we were going to need. We had to get insurance for it. We had to make sure we were covered. We had to do all the planning for it very suddenly. And when you're not prepared for that, it can be a little overwhelming. And then for curbside and to-goes, we had to come up with a system for that to make sure that it could go as smoothly as possible. And we're still learning all of this. We still don't have the best system. We're still trying to figure it out as best we can every day and see what works and what doesn't. And it just kind of feels like every day we're learning something new about it and having to just keep on adjusting with the times.
So this has affected some of my friends because they know people that have had the virus or their family members have actually gotten the virus, and so them and their family are having to stay quarantined and not have any contact whatsoever. They're not allowed to go outside. They're not allowed to even touch certain things in their house. So it's just very, very difficult for some people that are actually getting this.
Me personally, it's tough. I'm so used to working these long 12-hour days, and so there's the benefit of being home around my family and seeing them, but there's also the struggle of seeing that we're just losing money, just empty existing.
Being immunocompromised adds a new element to what my wife can do. Unfortunately, one of us has got to do things. We have to go to the store and we have to take care of business outside the home. So she's doing that.
Some days I feel very constrained and have my hands tied because we are utilizing these online platforms to reach our students and to continue to challenge them academically. And so once I assign the lesson, it becomes very much on their hands to complete their assignments and to maintain their academic experiences while at home. And that can be very difficult for a 14-year-old to do. That's asking a lot of their parents who are dealing with their own issues, crises, and it's asking for them to be very independent in learning time management and such. So that COVID has definitely impacted how we do school now.
As far as our organization goes, here at the church, the virus has essentially brought to a halt the things that churches are supposed to do. We can't gather together to teach or to worship or to fellowship. That in itself has been deemed dangerous, being within certain proximity of other people. And so we've canceled all activities All of our services, all of our small group gatherings, our Sunday school, our fellowships, everything has been canceled. So in that regard, it's brought it to a halt.
For my clients, at first it seemed like it was a cool vacation, but a lot of people are beginning to feel that this is more long-term, but we're getting back to reality at some point. And so a lot of people have been reaching out and engaging with us. I know of a couple dozen of our members who lost jobs. We've handed out some scholarships to those who were affected, who were asking not to be terminated, but they don't know if they can contribute. And so we met them halfway with one of our scholarships. And then we've also loaned out a lot of equipment. We've had a lot of college kids come back into town, and so we've given them equipment and ways to utilize it. We've diversified our offerings for the online platforms. We've always had one, but we've never really taken advantage of it.
My dad was going to come stay at the house and take care of the animals and then come up and see us, and they were going to take turns and take shifts. And when we found out that nobody was allowed to come in, telling my parents was really hard. My mom was hysterical. She cried. And her big concern was if something happened, to me or to the baby, and I had to have surgery or something like that, they wouldn't let her in. And so as a mom, that was really hard. And after, we had a lot of people that wanted to come over to the house and, trying to figure out what family can come what day. And so all of those expectations and plans changed pretty drastically because we couldn't see anybody.
One of the biggest struggles for teaching distance learning versus in the classroom is you don't get a chance to see all of your students and their understanding of material unless they have produced it.
When I think about the church's response to this virus, I've only been the senior pastor here for a little over a year, and it's unbelievable to me that we're challenged with this. There is no literature out there for how to lead a local church through a pandemic. There is no literature, there is no scripture regarding how to keep your congregation together and how to minister to your members when they cannot meet.
I got into teaching for the students, not for the academia. And so we miss that with distance learning. I find myself caught up in the mundane tasks of chasing papers and grading papers and lesson plannings, and all of that is a vital part of teaching. However, that can get a little frustrating when you don't have it balanced with the relationships you build with students.
What I've done is I've looked back 100 years ago to the Spanish flu and how during that pandemic churches shut down but were still bold to minister to the needs of their people and to share the gospel with folks, even when it was dangerous to their own well-being. But there really is no simple answer. This is brand new. And we may look back at it in a year or in 5 years or in 10 years and think, man, we did this wrong. Here's what we should have done. But right now, in the middle of it, we're scrambling just to maintain contact with our people so that we can know how to help them when they have a need.
So we've basically diversified our training platforms to be not in person. And in most simple terms, we've created a lot of online free training programs for high school coaches and high school kids who don't have access to us, and even college programs. So I've talked with some of their coaches. And so they can go onto YouTube, and it's a step-by-step program. It's got detailed instruction, and it builds up from day one all the way through. And each week it progresses you to more demanding or more complicated drills. And so those are the easiest, freest platforms we've created with the help of Statham Visuals. And then in the next tier underneath that is we've gone to aggressive online platforms using Zoom. And so we have everything from your skill training classes where we can do drills and we can do feedback, and I can tell the kids, foot position needs to be here, knee and ankles need to be here, here's our drill for this. And we can actually build good mechanics that we would do in-house. And then we send them out to do homework. We have Zoom classes that are 100% conditioning based, and so we're building general fitness, improving some muscular endurance and strength. And then we have an elite level class where those who have equipment will get to do some strength training with us. We have hyper flexibility within that programming. And then we also combine it with relatable content for sports. And so if we're doing a lower body squat, then we're also going to find a way to implement more vertical jump training because those correlate in performance. And so they can still get a lot of what we would do here. They're just in their garage alone, and then they can still engage with each other on our Zoom platform. So friends get to see each other, kids get to be in classes with kids they've never gotten to see before, and it's kind of this cool little matrix.
One of the biggest blessings is surprisingly, though we are apart, our team at my campus has just grown stronger. I'm in a constant conversation with my 8th grade team teachers, and we are checking on students that maybe we haven't heard from or some other teacher has, or calling parents and communicating with them in such a positive way that it's been really encouraging. When we had bad days, when this has been stressful, we pick each other up, and it's just, even though we aren't in the building, we still are doing that.
This has obviously made caring for the members of our church a challenge. Some of our older members don't use the electronic means that are so common to the younger members. They're not on Facebook. We had one gentleman tell one of our elders, "I don't know what YouTube is," because he doesn't own a computer. And so it's difficult for us to communicate in those regards.
So we've been doing certain things that I wouldn't normally do, but it's kind of making us push our creativity and think outside the box to reach customers in the community and do different things.
So with the COVID crisis, my students are facing things that are so unknown to them at this time period, just like the rest of us. But when you are 13, 14 years old and the world is kind of a dark and scary place, and you don't have your normal escape like they have at school, this has been a real challenge.
This is the time where, I have a brand new son, and there's this truth where if we were a normal business, I would have taken about a week to be with him, and then I'd go back to my 12 or 13-hour work days. And so I'm only working about 8 hours, which is giving me so much more time at home than I've ever been used to be able to engage and just be with my family. On the flip side is we are a very personal and engaged community here at this facility. We had about 120 people before this hit, and that's, this is around not a super busy time for us, but as the summer hits, we'll get closer to 200 and 300. And the majority, a large majority of those people stayed on with us and found different ways to engage with us, and we're happy. We had a few people who said they couldn't support us. We had a few people who said they wouldn't support us, but the large majority said, even if my kid isn't using it to its advantage, we're gonna pay, and we're gonna be happy to pay because we want you to be here when we get back. And so our community aggressively rallied around us. The kids adapted. I mean, if you've ever tried to get a kid to do something new and different that they weren't 100% sold on, it's super hard, and they have. And so we've felt a lot of love, and we've been able to cover a lot of our normal expenses because of that.
With this whole spending so much time here in our homes, we're able to actually look into our college stuff, apply for more scholarships, work on essays. It's given us a lot more time to focus on what's next, because we're getting a little less work, so we're able to actually put in more time into college or getting jobs and figuring out what we're going to do once we graduate.
Really, it's been awesome just to not have time or worry. We kind of just start our day when we need to, and some days we get dressed and some days we don't, and just getting to be there for him 100%, not having to worry about people coming over. Obviously, we would have loved our families to come see him and, get to experience him. But the first couple of weeks were really cool because I've never been a mom before. I didn't even know how to change a diaper. And so getting to figure out how to be a mom and getting to connect with him was really, really cool.
Some of my students are doing things that they wouldn't have opportunities to do, like pick up new hobbies, learning new skills. Some of my kids have learned to paint or done different art stuff that they wouldn't have done in class.
The biggest blessing in all of this has been watching the community, whether it be the business or customers or what have you. It's been amazing to see everybody support everybody and support local and push local and just show all the love. And they come in and they check on us and they ask how they can best support us and best support all the other downtown communities. It's been incredible to watch everybody step up and show the love.
if people want to help us either for performance or if they just like being at home and doing nothing, if you like performance, there's multiple ways you can help us. Go on to our social medias and share. If you have no resources, use our resources. If you want to engage with us like so many new people have, contact us about getting into our Zoom programs, getting into our loaner programs, getting into our training. If you just like to sit on the couch and you're not into training, what we have asked those people to do is to share our scholarship offering and just to get that spread out. Our goal was to hand out about 50 scholarships before the end of all this and everything opens back up. And so we haven't even handed out near close to that. I think a lot of people don't want takeouts from they don't want freebies from us. But what we're begging and asking is if you know a kid who's just craving structure, craving somebody to engage with, and craving some kind of goal, they love having a goal to chase and to become better, then help them find our scholarship program, help their parents engage with us, and let's get connected so that we can be a part of their life during this crazy time. Because as an adult, you just think, dude, my business, my life, my everything, these kids are going through it too. They had sports taken from them, they had their friends taken from them, they had school taken from them, and so they're adapting just as much as us. And so we want to help those people.
If you are a member of the community who does not have a school-aged child, I'll encourage you to check on those that you know who are teachers, just to encourage them as well. But also things like offering your expertise in some area, donating supplies when school gets back up started. Those are all big things for us. Also, following the guidelines so we can get back to school in order to be back into what our normal life was. As much as we are in this kind of uncharted waters, we know one day we will get back into our classrooms and be back with our students where we want to be.
There's a lot of emphasis being placed on the community and how it can help each other. And I think one of the main callings of the church is to be ministers of benevolence to the community around them. And so we should be at the forefront of caring for and helping those in need around us. The question is, how can you do it when access to people is so limited as it is today? So as an organization, we feel like we're loving our neighbor, loving the people in this church by not needing. Because if we open the doors, people are going to feel compelled to come in. Scripture admonishes us about neglecting coming together as a church. It tells us we are to do that. So if the church doors are open, people will come. They feel that it is the right thing to do. But we as the church leadership feel that would be dangerous to them, especially some of our older members or people like me who have underlying health issues that would make it dangerous. So one way that we help our community is by removing that temptation for them to come and gather together with us.
Anything we post on Facebook, it's always helpful when people share that, and it's just something people can do from home without having to spend a dime. We still get people calling and we answer the phone and they ask if we're open, so we're like, yes, we're here. So just sharing our content on Facebook and Instagram, that's two ways that are free and you don't have to spend a dime. And then of course paying attention, and if you have the means to right now, purchasing or sending a flower arrangement either for yourself or for someone that needs it.
Just if you're going to go out to eat, if you're going to get coffee, if you're going out for any reason, try and pick local.
I would say just not forgetting about people. So like, even though you may not be able to support them during this time when like the economy and everybody goes back to normal, to just remember them. So that's something a lot of businesses are worried about is, obviously people don't have the same income or the same money, and so they can't really support financially. But once life returns, are they still going to support them and come back?
I think in one sense, it's causing us to be thankful for all the things we have taken for granted before this happened. Groceries. We're able to eat at our home, but we don't always get to eat the things we like now. So we're very grateful that normally we can eat not only anything we need, but we can get so picky as to only buy the things that we like, our favorites. That's a blessing. There are many parts of the world where that's not the case. But we also are grateful for this body of Christ here at Fairway. And it's brought that to our attention as we've not been able to meet.
Once we are allowed to get back together into our schools, please remember that the schools are there for the community, and we have so much to share and to showcase with all of our students.
One thing that is a comfort to me during this time is that we do serve a sovereign God. This is not a surprise to Him. He's not scrambling to come up with a plan to cope with the COVID-19 pandemic. He's Lord of all, and He is sovereign over our lives. We put our faith and our trust in Him because He's a caring and loving God.